Hi, I'm Ashley, and today I'm going to teach you how to crochet this Chicago Cubs logo. So if you have a favorite team, go ahead and drop it down in the comments, and maybe at some point I could create a motif pattern for that logo as well. So I really like these small motif type patterns because they're really versatile. You could use this as the end of a scarf. You could incorporate it into like a beanie pattern or a sweater. You could use it as a potholder or coaster or something kind of decorative. Or you could incorporate it into a blanket, just make a bunch of squares the same colors and then make quite a few of these as well and kind of patchwork it together. So it's really versatile and they're fun and quick to make. So let's go ahead and jump in to learn how to make it.
First, the materials that you'll need to create the Chicago Cubs pattern are obviously yarn, right? So I have red, white, and blue, which are the colors of the Cubs. And I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby. This is a worsted weight, so weight 4 yarn. And this is acrylic yarn, so just a standard, any standard weight 4 yarn that you like will do. Using the same brand is a good idea because they'll be actually the same weight. Weight 4 across different brands, even different lines in the same brand can be a little bit different. So I use the same brand. I love this yarn. I have lost the labels for these because these are leftover skeins from other projects, but this is like a dark red. It's not the really bright like cherry red. So dark red, just blue. And then I think this is actually a really light ivory, not actually white, but you can use white or a almost white, barely off white. Fine. Whatever you want to choose on the colors in that world of red, white, and blue. I have a size G crochet hook. So this is 4.25 millimeters. I have scissors to cut my yarn, a darning needle, which I use to weave in ends, and then the pattern. So you'll need either the written pattern or the chart. They are both available from my website, which is linked in the description below. So if you just open the description and click on the link, you'll find the written pattern and a link to the PDF chart for that pattern in that post. So check out down there and you can print it out or just use it off your phone or whatever. So for this one, I know that I have it printed out in black and white. It is a full color chart on the website, but the background is going to be blue. The white is going to be white, and then the inside of the C is going to be red. So I know it's black and white, so it's a little bit harder to see, but it is in color on the website. So check it out there. So my color A, my first color, is blue. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to get my yarns lined up here so that they're ready to add when I need them. For working off of a chart like this, I have them numbered up and down so that it makes it a little bit easier to count and keep track of where you are. If you're right-handed, you're going to start on the bottom right and work from right to left for the first row. And then all of the odd rows, 1, 3, 5, 7, etc., are going to be worked from right to left. All of the even rows, 2, 4, 6, 8, right, are going to be worked from left to right. So that can help you keep track of the counting a lot easier to know that odd, right to left, even, left to right. If you're left-handed, you'll want to flip-flop the numbers and work the opposite direction. So we have 25, each box is a single crochet. We have 25 single crochets. So to start our foundation chain, we do 25 plus 1 and get 26 chains. So I'm going to start with the slip knot and chain 26. 2, 3, 4, 5, 26. Okay, so that's the foundation chain. Now we're going to work row 1, which is 25 single crochets in this same color. Okay, so I'm going to work in the first chain from my hook and just do single crochets all the way across to get to 25. 2, 3, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so that is row 1. Now for row 2, it's the same thing. It's 25 single crochets all in blue. One other note on the materials real quick. You do not need very much yarn for this project. So if you have these colors from old projects, if you have them left over, use them, because even this ball, which is pretty loose, it's not very much, right? This can probably make the whole background of this if I were using this color. This could easily make the whole background of this color. And for this little bit of white, like you would need maybe a fifth of this amount. You don't need very much at all. It's like 1 ounce of yarn for the whole project. So when you split it up into 3 colors, it's a very small amount. So just know that these are good like little stash buster projects if you have these colors already. Okay, so now I'm turning and I'm going to work row 2, so 25 single crochets. I am going to take my tail and work over it so that I don't have to weave it in later. So I'm going to pull that up behind my project after I turn, and then I'm going to insert my hook through my final stitch. Oh, the other thing, I don't do a turning chain when I do single crochets. So you'll see that I don't do turning chains at all. I just go straight in after my final single crochet, turn, and do my next single crochet in that last stitch of the previous row. So inserting my hook, and I'm going under that tail in the back there, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then I'm keeping that yarn pushed down against the top of my stitches here. And so I'm going over that tail to yarn over and pull my loop through those two. And then by doing that all the way across, I then don't have to weave in the end later. Okay, so 2, 3, 21, 22. And as I'm getting to the end of this tail, I'm going to pull it tighter so that I can keep working over it. It is going to curl up my project. Not a big deal. I'll fix it later. 23, 24, and 25. So now that I'm at the end of that row, I can stretch my project back out so that it's not curled because of pulling that in tighter, and then that end is just going to be tucked into that row. Okay, so now we're on row 3, and this is where we start getting into the color changes. Okay, so I'm going to turn again. I'm not going to single crochet, and I'm going to start with 8 single crochets in this blue color, and on the 8th I'm going to show you how I add in the new color. Okay, so turn, single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now the 8th, I'm going to start that single crochet. So I insert hook, I yarn over and pull up loop, but I'm going to add the color here. So I'm going to drop that yarn and pick up my white, because we're going to have 8 single crochets in white. Okay, so I'm going to take my white and I'm going to pull a loop of the white up to finish that previous single crochet, and then I can kind of tighten down the blue. Now I'm going to be carrying along the blue yarn so that I can then color change back to it here. So I'm not going to cut it or anything. I'm just going to carry it along just like I weaved over that tail at the end of that starting tail in that first row. So make sure I have enough of a tail for my white there. And I'm going to work over that white tail as well to weave it in. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold those 2 yarns against my stitch, and I'm going to do 8 single crochets in white. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, Okay, on the 8th, I'm changing colors. So I want to make sure that my tension is good, that I haven't carried my blue yarn along too tight where it's curling. So I can loosen it back up. Now the 8th stitch, I'm gonna start it with white. So insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then end it with blue for my color change. Now I'm gonna drop the white and pick up the blue and finish off this row with 9 single crochets in blue, continuing to work over that white yarn. 7. Okay, so I'm pulling the tail. I'm not pulling my working yarn, but I'm pulling that tail tight so that I can tuck it in nicely. And it gets like hidden away in there. This is number 9. Okay, and then I'm gonna stretch that back out to get that tail tucked in where it's not curling my project. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna turn and start working on row 4, which row 4, again, is gonna be left to right. So I'm gonna start with 7 single crochets in blue, and I'm carrying along this white yarn still. So I'm gonna turn, pull that white yarn up behind the project, and work over it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now, I like to kind of hold my project right there at the corner and pull the white yarn so that then with the turn it kind of gets tucked in there better. So that's something that I do with each turn. 4, 5, 6, 7. On 7, I'm gonna change to white. And then I have 2 single crochets in white. Okay. And then I'm changing to my 3rd color, which is red for the C. Okay, so I pick up the first loop of my single crochet in white. Now I'm going to drop my white, still carrying along the blue, and I'm going to add in the red. Okay, same way. So I just grabbed a loop and pulled it through for that final loop on the single crochet. So now I have all these yarns. I'm still going to be working over them. Just keep carrying them along. Okay. Now you will see a little bit of the color peek through the background. That doesn't bother me at all. I mean, it's all the team colors, so it just kind of pulls in the color even more. But if it does bother you, you can cut the yarn, weave in ends each time if you want. But when you're weaving in, you're going to have to make sure you're following that same color for the weaving, which for the blue and red, not that big of a deal. For white, it might be kind of annoying. But I just don't find that that's a good use of my time. And the color peeking through really doesn't bother me. I kind of like it. So you do you, though. If you want to cut it each time, just know you'll use a little bit more yarn because you'll have to weave in those tails every time. I mean, you're not carrying it along, but it actually will use more yarn probably. Okay, so now I'm on red. 2, 4, 6, 8 single crochets in red, carrying along all those extra yarns. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm changing to white. So I'm dropping my red, keeping carrying along the blue. And I'm doing 2 single crochets in white. Switching to blue. And finishing out the row with 6 single crochets in blue. Okay, now I'm gonna stretch this red yarn a little bit. This is the tail, not my working yarn, and I'm cutting that off. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that was row 4. Now we're coming to row 5, and we're going to start with 5 single crochets in blue. So, put my hook back in. I'm going to turn, bring both of those working yarns with me, and do 5 single crochets in blue. Okay. Tighten that for the corner. 3, 4, 5, and I'm switching to white, doing 1 single crochet in white. So when you just do 1, you still do the same thing. So I'm going to insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then I'm switching automatically to my next color, which is red, to finish that stitch. Okay, so it kind of feels weird because you're not even doing a whole stitch. It doesn't feel like in the white, but stick with it. I promise it works. And now we're going to do 12 single crochets in red. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, switching to white. One single crochet in white, switching to blue. And 6 single crochets in blue. Okay. That was row 5. Now we're going to go on to row 6. Before I do that, I'm going to show you something else to think about while you're crocheting. So, because we're constantly dropping the yarn and picking it up in the same direction, these yarns are going to end up looking braided. Okay. Now that's going to start to mess with your tension because they're just going to get tangled and be really annoying. So what you're going to do is periodically, it doesn't have to be every row, but when it starts to get annoying, you're going to take your yarn and just untangle it. So untwist it from each other. Okay. So I'm just taking the white and untwisting it from the blue and the red. Okay. Okay, so now white's untangled. Now I'm going to untangle my red and blue. My blue is super messy, so I don't want to pick it up. So I'm going to take the red and bring that up around the blue. Okay, and then that will make it easier for you to continue working without having it mess with your tension. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to keep working the pattern. I'm not going to bore you with me showing you. You have the chart. You know how to do the color changes. So I'm going to keep working the pattern until I get up to the end of the color changes, and then I'll come back and show you how I kind of finish it off. Here I'm on my last row that has red in it. So I'm going to show you how I just kind of finish off the colors and finish off the project. One, 2, 8. Okay, so I'm just going to continue carrying along that red yarn, even though I'm not going to use it again. But this way I don't have to weave in the end after. So you could cut it and then weave in the end if you wanted. But I just keep carrying it along until I'm going to carry it along for the next row as well, so that it's weaved in. Okay. So now I'm going to turn and I'm on row 24. So carry along those yarns still. 9 single crochets in blue. 8, 9, change to white. 8 single crochet in white. Finish off the row with 8 blue. Okay. So now I've carried along that red for an extra row, so it's weaved in. So now I'm going to pull the red a little bit tighter and cut it. Okay. And then I'm going to carry along the white for one more row. Again, just to weave in the end so that I don't have to do any extra work after. Okay, so I'm going to do my last 2 rows of blue. I'm just going to carry along the white for one more row though. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this white. Just pull it a little bit tighter, cut it, and then stretch it back out. Okay, and then my final row is just 25 more single crochets in blue. 23, 24, 25. Now for the last one, I'm going to finish it off. So I'm going to finish that single crochet, and then I'm going to cut a length to weave in. I'm going to pull up another loop and pull it all the way through, tighten it down, and that creates essentially a knot. Then I'm going to take my darning needle and weave in the ends with the darning needle. Now you can do this with a crochet hook if you want. I just prefer the darning needle because I find it to be a lot faster and easier. And there's not really a right or wrong way to weave in the ends. Just you need to make sure that you do it enough that it's not going to unravel, but you can zigzag all the way through, or you can do like I do, which is go straight up one row for a little ways. And this is where, you know, that darning needle makes it really easy because I can just push it through a whole bunch of stitches and then pull it through. Okay, make sure that it's the proper tension. And then I'm going to turn and go back the other way through another row. Okay, and you can do this more times up and down if you feel like you need it to be more secure. It kind of depends what you're going to use it for. If it's going to be something that you're washing a lot or going to have a lot of heavy use, you might want to go through, you know, a couple more zigzags just to make it really secure, but just kind of pending your project, right? Okay, trim off the excess. And then you can also block it to make it nice and square if you want. But there is our finished Cubs logo.
So again, here is that finished logo. I just really love these motif patterns. I think it's just such a fun way to personalize something for either yourself or for somebody that you love and give it to them as a personalized gift. So if you like this video, give it a like for me and check out the channel for tons more content about crochet, both like informational type videos and more tutorials. Have a great day and thank you so much for watching.